The leather wallet was cracked like broken glass, buried 18 inches deep in sand that hadn't been disturbed for years. Dr. Elena Vasquez pulled it from the earth outside a desert fox den in the Sonoran Desert, her latex gloves scraping against metal that had once been silver but now looked like rusted bone. Inside the wallet, pressed between layers of rotting leather, was a driver's license for Marcus Kellerman, age 34, expired 8 years ago. Below that, a restaurant receipt from the Cactus Cafe in Tucson, dated March 15, 2015, the exact day Marcus Kellerman walked into the Arizona desert and never came back. Marcus Kellerman was the kind of hiker who memorized topographic maps. Like other people memorized phone numbers, he'd spent 12 years exploring every canyon, ridge, and hidden spring across 4 southwestern states. His GPS unit contained waypoints for over 2,000 locations, each one marked with precise coordinates and detailed notes about water sources, shelter, and emergency routes. But on March 15, 2015, this man who could navigate the desert blindfolded made a decision that would turn him into one of Arizona's most haunting unsolved mysteries. The question that tormented search teams, his family, and eventually the media wasn't whether Marcus got lost. Experienced hikers like him didn't just disappear. The question was what happened during those final hours that caused a man who carried 3 backup communication devices to vanish so completely that 8 years of searching turned up nothing but a wallet buried like a grave marker in the sand. Marcus left his apartment in Phoenix at 4:30 a.m. on March 15th, driving his blue Toyota Tacoma to the Ironwood Forest National Monument. Security cameras at a gas station 20 miles from the trailhead captured him filling up his truck at 6:15 a.m., buying 2 bottles of water and a package of beef jerky. The cashier, Maria Santos, remembered him because he asked specific questions about recent weather patterns and whether she'd heard reports of any unusual animal activity in the area. He told her he planned to hike the Ragged Top Trail, a moderate 15-mile loop that typically took experienced hikers about 8 hours to complete. But Marcus Kellerman never intended to hike the Ragged Top Trail. Phone records revealed that 3 days before his disappearance, he'd received a call from Dr. Raymond Hawthorne, a geology professor at Arizona State University who'd been tracking unusual seismic activity in the region. The call lasted 47 minutes. Dr. Hawthorne later told investigators that Marcus had contacted him weeks earlier asking about anomalous readings near an area called Devil's Backbone Ridge, a remote section of desert that wasn't accessible by any marked trail. Devil's Backbone Ridge earned its name from Spanish explorers in the 1750s who reported strange phenomena in the area: compasses spinning wildly, temperatures dropping 20 degrees without explanation, and rock formations that seemed to change position overnight. Modern scientists dismiss these reports as desert hallucinations and magnetic interference from iron ore deposits. But Marcus had spent months researching the area, collecting testimonies from other hikers who'd experienced similar anomalies. His notebook, found later in his apartment, contained detailed sketches of rock formations and compass readings that made no scientific sense. The morning Marcus disappeared, temperatures in the Sonoran Desert reached 89 degrees by 9 a.m., unusually hot for March. His satellite phone last pinged a cell tower at 10:23 a.m., placing him approximately 4 miles northeast of the official trailhead, exactly in the direction of Devil's Backbone Ridge. The GPS coordinates from that final ping showed he'd already hiked 6 miles through unmarked terrain, moving at a steady pace of 2.8 miles per hour. Then the signal disappeared completely. Search and rescue teams launched their operation 18 hours later when Marcus failed to return home. His truck was found locked and empty at the trailhead, his spare key hidden under the rear bumper exactly where he always left it. Inside the vehicle, investigators discovered his backup GPS unit, extra batteries for his satellite phone, and a handwritten note addressed to his brother. "If something happens to me, look for the 3 red stones arranged in a triangle. That's where the answers are." The search effort involved 12 teams, 2 helicopters, and 43 volunteers, who combed 200 square miles of desert over 6 days. They found no footprints, no pieces of clothing, no trace of human passage. The terrain around Devil's Backbone Ridge was particularly challenging: loose rock, hidden crevices, and temperatures that reached 105 degrees during the day. But experienced trackers noted something unusual: the complete absence of any sign that a human had passed through the area recently. In desert sand, footprints can remain visible for weeks. Marcus Kellerman had somehow walked into the wilderness and left no trace behind. 3 months after the search ended, Marcus's brother David received a package with no return address. Inside was Marcus's watch, a military grade, Sunto that he never removed, not even to shower. The watch face was cracked, the band corroded by what appeared to be acid, and the internal mechanism had stopped at 2:47 p.m. on March 15th. Forensic analysis revealed traces of sulfur and an unknown organic compound that didn't match anything in FBI databases. The package was postmarked from Tucson, but security footage from the post office showed only an elderly woman mailing multiple packages, none of whom could be identified. Dr. Elena Vasquez wasn't looking for human remains when she discovered Marcus's wallet in October 2023. She was studying the behavioral patterns of kit foxes, small desert animals that had been acting strangely in the Devil's Backbone Ridge area. Local ranchers reported seeing foxes active during daylight hours, digging frantically in specific locations, then abandoning their dens overnight. Her research team had been monitoring 17 den sites when they noticed that all the abandoned dens formed a rough circle around a central point, the exact location where Marcus's satellite phone had last transmitted. The wallet was buried outside the largest den, wrapped in what appeared to be a piece of Marcus's hiking shirt. The fabric had been chewed and shredded, but DNA analysis confirmed it belonged to him. More disturbing was the condition of the wallet itself. While the leather was degraded by 8 years of burial, the contents were preserved in a way that defied explanation. The driver's license showed no signs of water damage, despite being buried during multiple monsoon seasons. The restaurant receipt was legible, the ink unfaded, as if it had been placed in the ground just days earlier. But the most unsettling discovery came when Dr. Vasquez's team used ground-penetrating radar to map the area around the den. 18 inches below the wallet, they detected a large cavity, roughly the size and shape of a human body. When they excavated the site, they found nothing but undisturbed sand and a single red stone, perfectly spherical, unlike anything that occurs naturally in the region. The stone was warm to the touch despite being buried in cool sand, and it registered electromagnetic readings that their equipment couldn't explain. DNA testing on the red stone revealed traces of Marcus's blood, but also something else. Genetic material that didn't match any known human, animal, or plant species. The lab results were classified by federal authorities, and Dr. Vasquez was ordered to cease her research in the area. When she returned to the site 2 weeks later, the den had been filled with concrete, and warning signs declared the area off-limits. Due to geological instability, Marcus Kellerman's disappearance file remains officially open, but federal involvement ended abruptly after the wallet discovery. His family received a settlement from an undisclosed government agency, contingent on signing agreements that prevented them from discussing the case publicly. The Cactus Cafe receipt found in his wallet led investigators to review security footage from that morning, but the tapes had been mysteriously corrupted. Every frame showing Marcus inside the restaurant was blank, though footage from before and after his visit was perfectly clear. Local hikers continue reporting anomalous experiences in the Devil's Backbone Ridge area, compass malfunctions, sudden temperature drops, and the sound of someone calling for help in the distance. Park rangers now officially discourage hiking in the region, citing unstable rock formations and dangerous wildlife, but satellite imagery shows no geological changes in the area since Marcus's disappearance. The 3 red stones he mentioned in his note to his brother have never been found, though several hikers claim to have seen them arranged in a perfect triangle, only to discover they'd vanished when approached. The kit foxes that Dr. Vasquez was studying have all abandoned the region. Wildlife cameras placed throughout the area capture no animal activity after sunset, unusual for a desert ecosystem. The silence is so complete that acoustic equipment registers no sound whatsoever. During nighttime hours, no insects, no wind, nothing. Geologists studying the area report that ground temperatures dropped to 45 degrees after dark, despite ambient temperatures remaining in the 70s. Marcus Kellerman walked into the Arizona desert on March 15, 2015, carrying enough supplies for a 2-day hike. 8 years later, the only proof he was ever there was a wallet buried like evidence of a crime that no one was meant to solve. His body was never found, his final hours remain unexplained, and the red stones he believed held answers continue to elude every search effort. But in the Sonoran Desert, 18 inches below the surface, something else might still be waiting, something that required 8 years of patience before allowing a single piece of evidence to surface. The investigation took an even darker turn when authorities discovered Marcus's internet search history from the week before his disappearance. Between March 8th and March 14th, he'd made 347 searches related to temporal displacement, desert portals, and missing time phenomena. His browser history showed he'd spent hours on forums where people claimed to have experienced time loss. In desert environments, hikers who'd set out for day trips and returned 3 days later with no memory of where they'd been, their water supplies mysteriously refilled, and their equipment showing signs of use they couldn't explain. The most disturbing search was conducted at 3:17 a.m. on March 14th, just hours before his departure. What happens when you find something that isn't supposed to exist? The search led him to a scientific paper published in 1987 by Dr. Harrison Blackwood, a theoretical physicist who'd studied electromagnetic anomalies in the southwestern United States. Dr. Blackwood had documented 17 cases of hikers reporting lost time experiences, all within a 50-mile radius of Devil's Backbone Ridge. His research was defunded after he claimed to have discovered evidence of temporal fractures in the desert landscape. Marcus had printed Dr. Blackwood's entire research paper, 94 pages, of data that investigators found in his apartment, covered with handwritten notes and calculations. On page 67, beside a photograph of 3 red stones arranged in a triangle, Marcus had written, "This is it. This is what they're hiding." The photograph in Dr. Blackwood's paper was taken in 1986, but when authorities attempted to contact the scientist, they discovered he died in a car accident in 1988, exactly 1 year after his research was terminated. But Dr. Blackwood's death wasn't the only suspicious detail. Records showed that between 1985 and 2015, 11 hikers had vanished in the Devil's Backbone Ridge area under similar circumstances. All were experienced outdoorsmen. All had researched the area extensively before their trips. All had left behind vehicles with spare keys hidden in the same location. The pattern was so consistent that it suggested either an incredible series of coincidences or something far more deliberate. The first disappearance occurred in 1985, when Thomas Brightwater, a Navajo tracker and desert guide, failed to return from a solo expedition. His truck was found at the same trailhead where Marcus would park 30 years later. Inside the vehicle, authorities discovered maps marked with red ink showing the exact route Marcus would later follow. Brightwater's family reported that he'd been researching sacred geometries in the desert, claiming that certain rock formations created doorways that his ancestors had warned against approaching. In 1991, Janet Morrison, a geological survey specialist, vanished while conducting mineral assessments in the region. Her equipment was found abandoned, but her core samples from that day showed mineral compositions that didn't match anything known to exist in Arizona. The samples contained elements that weren't on the periodic table, arranged in crystalline structures that defied known physics. When a research team attempted to recreate her work, their equipment malfunctioned in ways that suggested electromagnetic interference of extraordinary intensity. The pattern continued through the decades, experienced hikers drawn to the area by reports of anomalies, disappearing without trace, and leaving behind vehicles and equipment that told no coherent story. In 2003, Marcus Kellerman had actually participated in a search effort for Robert Chen, a desert photographer who'd vanished while documenting unusual rock formations in the region. Marcus spent 3 days searching the same terrain where he would later disappear, and his journal from that time contained detailed notes about the wrong feeling of the area. Those journal entries, discovered after Marcus's own disappearance, revealed his growing obsession with what he called the pattern. He'd identified the connection between all 11 missing hikers, noting that each had reported compass malfunctions, temperature anomalies, and the sensation of being watched in the days before their disappearances. More significantly, he documented that local wildlife avoided the area in specific patterns, creating a dead zone roughly 3 miles in diameter, centered on Devil's Backbone Ridge. Marcus's research had led him to contact surviving family, members of the missing hikers. Patricia Chen, Robert's widow, told him that her husband had received a package 3 days before his disappearance, a manila envelope containing photographs of red stones arranged in geometric patterns. The photographs had no return address, but the postmark was from Tucson. When Marcus asked to see the photographs, Patricia discovered they had vanished from her home's safe, despite the lock showing no signs of tampering. Similar stories emerged from other families. Thomas Brightwater's grandson reported that tribal elders had approached his family after the disappearance, warning them to stop asking questions about the stones. Janet Morrison's research partner, Dr. Kevin Walsh, told Marcus that government agents had confiscated all of Janet's work within hours of her being reported missing, claiming national security concerns. The agents provided documentation that was later discovered to be fraudulent, but by then the evidence was gone. The most chilling revelation came from Marcus's final phone call with Dr. Hawthorne. The geology professor had initially been reluctant to discuss their conversation with investigators, but eventually revealed that Marcus had claimed to have found them, the 3 red stones arranged in a triangle. According to Dr. Hawthorne, Marcus described the stones as impossibly perfect spheres that generated heat and made his GPS equipment display coordinates that placed him outside of mapped reality. During that final conversation, Marcus had put his phone on speaker so Dr. Hawthorne could hear the ambient sound around the stone formation. The professor described what he heard as the most unsettling silence I've ever experienced. Not quiet, but empty, like the sound had been surgically removed from the air. In the background, he could hear Marcus's breathing becoming rapid and shallow, as if he was experiencing altitude sickness at sea level. The call ended abruptly when Marcus said, "They're not stones, they're eggs, and something's hatching." The line went dead at 2:47 p.m., the exact time recorded on Marcus's watch when it was later mailed to his brother. Investigation into the mysterious packages sent to victims' families revealed a disturbing pattern. Each package was mailed from the same Tucson post office, always by the same elderly woman who paid in cash and provided false identification. Security footage analysis showed that the woman appeared to be the same person across multiple decades, despite the time span making this biologically impossible. The footage from 1988, showing her mailing Thomas Brightwater's personal effects, looked identical to footage from 2015, showing her mailing Marcus's watch. Federal investigators classified the elderly woman as a person of interest, but their search led nowhere. The false identifications she provided traced to Social Security numbers belonging to people who had died in the 1950s. The addresses she listed didn't exist. Even more disturbing, facial recognition software couldn't establish a match for her. In any database, not because the quality was poor, but because the software returned error messages claiming her facial structure was geometrically impossible. When Dr. Vasquez's team analyzed the electromagnetic readings from the red stone found beneath Marcus's wallet, they discovered the signature-matched readings taken from other disappearance sites over the past 30 years. But the intensity had increased dramatically. Whatever was generating the electromagnetic field was growing stronger. Satellite thermal imaging of the Devil's Backbone Ridge area showed underground temperature increases of over 200 degrees since Marcus's disappearance, concentrated in a pattern that matched the arrangement of the 3 red stones. The federal order to cease research came after Dr. Vasquez's team detected what their equipment registered as temporal distortion, areas where time moved at different rates. When they placed synchronized atomic clocks at various points around the site, the clocks began showing different times, despite being calibrated to nanosecond precision. The clock placed nearest to the buried red stone gained 14 minutes over the course of 6 hours, while clocks placed outside the immediate area maintained perfect synchronization. Local Native American tribes, who had avoided the area for generations, finally broke their silence after Marcus's wallet was discovered. Tribal elder Joseph Crow Feather revealed that Devil's Backbone Ridge was considered the place where the world is thin, a location where the boundary between dimensions became permeable. According to tribal history, Spanish explorers had disturbed something in the 1750s that should have remained buried, creating a wound in reality that had been slowly widening ever since. The tribal accounts describe the red stones as seeds of elsewhere, objects that didn't belong in this world but had been planted here by something that existed between dimensions. According to Crow Feather, the stones were designed to harvest specific types of human consciousness, people with the intelligence and curiosity to seek them out, but also the isolation to disappear without creating widespread attention. Marcus Kellerman had been the perfect target. His expertise made him capable of finding the stones. His solitary nature meant few people would immediately notice his absence, and his obsession with mysteries ensured he would ignore warning signs that might have saved his life. But according to the tribal elder, Marcus wasn't just another victim. He was the 12th and final harvest needed to activate whatever was buried beneath Devil's Backbone Ridge. The desert keeps its secrets, but sometimes those secrets keep the desert. And sometimes, after decades of patient hunting, those secrets finally have everything they need to stop hiding.